What's up, youth basketball coaches? Hope that this little five out video, sharing a couple simple thoughts and strategies to help your team be more successful at the youth basketball level. If you want to run some 5-out, because if you're like me, you want to teach your kids to play instead of running plays. And this will help set them up for success as they get into 7th, 8th grade in high school. So first off, if we're running some 5-outs, let's talk about the transition piece first. Okay, so let's say we have first player down, let's say that's our 4, and we're bringing it up in transition. We like to have a rim runner because we want to see if we can get an easy basket, right? So we're running to the rim and we're looking to push that pass. The second thing I want you to take a look at is we got 2 wings and they're running deep and wide. And then the other thing is who's bringing the basketball up. We're bringing it up on a side instead of in the middle. This is going to allow the defense to have to shift over and guard a side, helps establish strong side, weak side, and then we can get into our ball movement. It's a little bit easier to attack. So if we have a first runner down, we're looking for the quick pitch ahead. We're obviously, if this player's back, we can pitch it straight up ahead as well and look to drive it or score it. And then we'll give this player a little autonomy as far as what they can start to do. But if they're rim run and they don't see anything, they're simply going to fill to the opposite corner. If you're on the same side wing and you didn't receive that pass, you're going to bump down to the corner. Ball handler brings it down to the wing. This player here stays on the wing, and then whoever our last player down is, this doesn't necessarily have to be your biggest player, they're filling, and you got a basic setup of 5-out. And so if this is our setup, one of the first things that we can initially start to implement is basic pass cutter through. So if I wanted to pass to the corner and then I basket cut through, and we want to make sure that as an offensive player, we're cutting ball side, because this is defense, off-ball defense 101. What do most players not do? They look at the ball instead of jumping to the ball. And so if we can just pass, step to this side and get that pass back, it's easy money, right? And so if we can work on that cutter coming through, okay, we don't have anything, delete this out of here, and everybody else just fills and rotates from there, right? And so we're filling that rotation from those different spots. We got our 5, we got our 3 filling up top, our 4's here, our 1 didn't get it, and then they can start to bump through. Now, sorry about that. Let's give the 2 the basketball here, okay? We give 2 the ball, and we're starting to fill these spots. We see things start to formulate a little bit here. And as we start to incorporate pass cutter through, we're looking to drive gaps. We're looking to draft the cutter through. Again, if you get a chance to listen to our Coach's Edge podcast with Jeff Pillar, that's a really good one. But when 1 cut through, obviously we got a double gap here. So 1 can look to rip it, turn the corner, and try to get to the rack. And that's driving the double gap, driving the draft at the 1 cut through. And this is easy stuff for young kids to learn, and we want to practice that. We don't have anything here. We're going to pass it back up to the 5. All right. Now, what do we do if we have a player in the corner who passes the basketball up? They can still basket cut and fill. So still a basket cut. They're just going to fill their same side, right? Ball's here. We swing it over. Again, we're cutting ball side. We're here. Okay, we didn't get the ball. Again, ball comes from your side. We're filling here. So the 2's coming up. 5 doesn't get anything. Fill the opposite corner. Okay, so this is basic passer cutter movements. It's one of the initial things that we can start to do. Say the ball gets swung over here. Okay, we pass through, again trying to cut ball side. Everybody else fills over. And let me give the 4 the ball here. Sorry about that. 3 doesn't get it. And then they fill opposite. So we're still, this is basic stuff. Now, if you listen to our podcast episode with Coach Pillar, he brings up a really good point of, what if a player cuts to the wrong side, right? A lot of times kids don't want to make a mistake, right? And so we want to free them from feeling like, hey, you can't make a mistake. Like, it's all good, right? And so what I mean by that is, let's say, we pass here, okay, and we basket cut, and then we go to this side. All right. Well, there's somebody already in the corner. There's somebody already on the wing. this would be the side that would fill up. And so generally you'd come back and fill. Well, what if they make a mistake and they cut over here? That's okay. My bad. Basketball's here. That's okay. If you get to a spot, simply come over to the opposite side, set a screen, and then this becomes our cutter. They can basket cut. What's the open spot? And then they can fill it. So if you're making a mistake, it's not really a mistake. It's actually getting into another layer of offense, which is just beginning to set screens for one another after you cut through. And so I hope that can help your kids relax a little bit when they are in a position where, boy, I don't want to go to the wrong side. You can't not go to the wrong side. You're looking to fill an open spot. And if there's somebody there, get your fist up, set a screen for them. They can cut through. We can try to hit them, and then they can fill the open spot, or even they could set a screen for somebody else. We're eventually filling those different 5 spots with our offense. So that's passing and cutting through. Another thing that we can do if we're bringing the basketball up. All right. So let's say we're over here on the second frame and we're just talking about passing and screening away. So if I pass here, it's supposed to be a pass, my bad. All right. So if I pass there, boom, I'm coming down and we start screen. So we're giving our kids basket cut options. We're giving them screen away options. All right. So 2 simple things. Again, we don't want to overwhelm. We don't want to overwhelm our kids. Right. But we do want to give them some options and some choices to make. So if I pass here and I screen away, 2's coming up. And that's basic, simple 5-out perimeter play. And then from there, you can teach your kids how to read screens, right? They can pop and fill that spot. They can look to curl, slip, rescreen, all these different things. But the base foundation at the youth basketball level, hey, get the basketball up. You could pass it back to the same side. Is this defender trailing? You have a good spot. Hey, you can turn the corner and you can drive it. That's an option right there. So let's say the basketball goes back and then we decide to screen away. Okay. So 5 passes here, 5's coming up. He's going to screen for the 3, wherever that 3 defender is. 3 comes up. Again, you're looking at some of your reads, your decisions to be able to read this screen and come off of it. And while we're doing this stuff, again, hopefully you're teaching some of the dribble drive components of when are good times to drive, right? And you want to drive with space. So as 5 passes to the 2 and they come and set the screen, there's all this space in the middle that we can look to turn the corner and try to get downhill in the drive. So we're looking for those attack options. And if nothing's there, that's fine. Boom. We can get the basketball back up here. We can look here. And either way, it's simply pass and screen away, right? So if the ball continues to be swung back up top, boom, we're here. We can pass and screen away here. 3 has the basketball. 1's coming up. 3 has the basketball. Right. We're still filling some of these general locations. Okay. So I hope that as you're thinking about running some 5-out with kids at even the, let's say, 6th grade level, I think there's so much growth that happens from, 5th and 6th grade to 7th and 8th grade. And as I watch and work with coaches at 7th and 8th grade level and players at 7th and 8th grade level, like some of them that are playing consistently they're doing a lot, right? It's quite impressive. And then you might watch some 5th and 6th grade basketball and be like, man, there's really only a couple differences with these kids. Yeah, because there's so much growth that's happening at those early ages. And, I think that's the fun part of coaching youth basketball, right? And shoot, I mean, my degree's in elementary ed. And, that's an age group I love because there's so much growth that can happen at that age. And so to be able to, it's like 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 at that age. It's like 1 + 1 = 5. Like that's how much growth we can get just by adding some simple things at the 6th grade level of, how can players continue to grow and benefit themselves and one another. Ball gets swung back. And then depending on how advanced, your kids are, say we're going to, double screen away and, really have some fun with some things like that. But the fact of the matter is you can start running 5-outs at the youth basketball level, specifically thinking, maybe even some fifth grade. With a lot of our third, fourth, and even our fifth and sixth grade, we do a lot of 3-on-3 with our programs. But once kids get into seventh grade, they're starting to be in, playing for their school team. So if we're preparing them for that, we need to make sure we're doing some 5-on-5 at the fifth and sixth grade levels, not just the 3-on-3 that we do from first grade up to the fourth grade level for most kids. And so keeping that in mind, if you're working on pass, cutter through, and teaching your kids to drive gaps, and you're working on simply passing and screening away and maintaining some of these positions, and again, teaching your kids to try to drive double gaps instead of single gaps, in my opinion, you're setting your kids up for success, because you're teaching them spacing, you're teaching them cutting, you're teaching them screening, and then you're because of the spacing aspect, you're teaching them better opportunities of when to drive it and when to not. Right. So like that's one thing that I would recommend if you're thinking about running some 5-out is, don't have the player bring it up straight on and start say, hey, we're going to break this player down and try to drive it. No, we want to create more space. Right. And so if this player can pass the basketball to one side or the other, and then we can start to, my fast draw is not working. Come on, man. Come on, man. There we go. All right. So it's just simple stuff as far as passing here and being able to basket cut through or being able to screen away. And that's just creating space. And we want to tell our kids like, hey, is it wrong? In my opinion, as a player development guy, is it my opinion? If it's a bad closeout, you got to angle on somebody, you can straight line drive somebody into a single gap. Like, I'm not a no, never type person, but we want to teach spacing. We want to teach driving double, even triple gaps. And so if we're doing that, say, hey, one of your best times to drive is this quick catch when you got a lot of space, because this 3 is either cutting through or they're screening away. That's a great time to attack, right? And if it's not shot and attack, you got somebody coming over and they're going to be your teammate. You can pass it back to them. Nothing's hurt. And we're playing, ball gets passed back here. Okay. Now we start to integrate both. What are my options? One has the option to cut through, and we could fill the open spot. When I get here, I can fill the open spot. If I go here on accident, or maybe it's on purpose, I can screen here, 4 cuts through, we're filling, right? So there's nothing wrong there. And then at the same time, we're teaching our screen away options. Pass goes to the 3. I'll give 3 the ball there. If I don't want a basket cut through, cool, I can screen away. 2 fills that spot. Again, we're looking for that pass. They can turn the corner off that dribble drive, kind of curl it and get into the rim. And then 3 obviously has a little more space to drive through. So I hope that this helps you a little bit with thinking about running some 5-out at the youth basketball level. The 3 takeaways that, I would have for you is the transition piece, not bringing the ball up on the middle. I'd bring it up on a side to help side the defense, and then, create strong side, weak side. You get more of an angle to push it up or drive to the rim. The next thing would be obviously your pass cutter through options, your pass screen away options, and then there's no wrong. So if a player goes through and there's somebody in that side, just tell them to screen for somebody, and then that becomes the next cutter to the basket. We can look there. And so being able to tell our kids, don't worry if something's, you can't make a mistake, right? This is essentially an offense that can start to self-correct itself. And as players start to get older and more advanced, what are some of the things that I would work on? And depending even on how my 5th and 6th graders were, dribble handoffs are an easy one for us to create spacing, continue to move the basketball, to turn the corner and learn how to drive, even teaching kids how to set screens. And so that would be something that I would think about integrating if your players at that level are, in a position to add that from an understanding of the game standpoint. And think about, do you still have a rim runner in transition? Can we push the pass up? If I'm bringing the basketball up here, can I push that initial pass up? Do we have a rim runner here? Okay, we didn't get anything to them. That's okay. Boom, they can fill one of the corners. If the ball's on your side, we're starting to push down and settle into the corner, and then we're running our stuff. So I hope that makes sense. You guys have any questions, reach out, contact at careerbasketball.com. Podcast is Coach's Edge. And, if you're watching this video, probably appreciate you because, again, you want to teach your kids to play the game instead of just teaching them sets. And this is a fun way to play basketball, honestly. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you need anything.